Okay. Today we have some more experimental changes for you. We had 6 badges and all of them alter which class items you have access to. Let's all test this out and see how we like it. 6 new badges. We saw these on the demo, or on the beta branch. So Leaf Badge seemed really good on Zerker. There's probably something you can do with it on Pyro too, just to get access to crits. But crit with Anvil was nuts. I'm sure Pyro gets to do something with crits. I tried to do some Darksaber stuff with it on Reaper, but it seemed worse than just normal Reaper stuff. Skull Badge on Pyro gives you access to the easiest chonks in the world. We had one game where it was like triple chonk. And yeah, perma-stun the opponent and pretty easily win. I don't know if anyone else wants the Skull Badge. There's some cute stuff you can do with Unhealing on Berserker, maybe, with the... what is it called? The Deer Head Totem. But seemed a little clunky when we tried it. Yeah, not even hard to assemble. It also just seems not that strong. But I could be wrong. We had a bunch of fights where the Unhealing was keeping us out of range of our Battle Rage. So we just didn't do any damage until our opponent was already fully scaled. Obviously, every class getting access to Flames is pretty cool. Much more open-ended than the others. I don't know if this is necessarily enabling any builds, so much as just letting you splash Chili Goobert in whatever other comp you were trying to do. Being able to make Flame Sword on Ranger seemed interesting, but you still gotta find the whetstones. And I hated seeing Wolf Badge every time it was offered. It does notably enable Pyro to get cheese on their Excalibur build. And I guess Flame Badge does the other for Berserker. Gives more strong food hits, ups the ceiling on the Excalibur build a lot. I don't know how much that actually helps the Excalibur comp. I imagine there might be some changes to it down below. But it seems like the benefits that you get for it come after the fail point of the build most of the time. Like, you've already got to have the Excalibur for the Cheese Chili to really come online. But it did make that comp feel really unbeatable in the beta. Then Rainbow Badge gives you access to all of the class items and dilutes the pool more than you'd think. I had trouble finding anything when I was looking for specific items with a Rainbow Badge, but yeah, get to do some cool stuff. And then Stone Badge, I think, is... assuming it didn't get changed. Let's just make sure. Is Stone Badge still Stone Badge? Does it still do everything? This might be the best item in the game. Yeah, this is... this is probably the best item in the game. Every 3 seconds, gain 5 armor, so it's like 2 garlics worth of value on your 5 gold econ item. And that econ isn't just coming in raw gold, it's giving you stones, which let you do all sorts of things, whether that be stone skin potions or maybe hero sword stuff. Probably not hero sword stuff, but stone skin potions. You get gems randomly out of it. Yeah. Also a very good Goober trigger. 3-second Goober trigger is better than a Blueberry. Kind of absurd. Definitely the most impactful early game one, and then being an early game tempo item that also gives you econ is absurd. Removing your class items isn't necessarily a downside either. Like, there are builds that don't care about class items. Like, theoretically, Fatigue Reaper is good. Fatigue doesn't care about any of the Fly Agaric deck of cards, Death Scythe, or Demonic Flask. Ranger misses out on Lucky Clover, Bow and Arrow, Shortbow. Losing Shortbow sucks. Can maybe do Ivy stuff on Ranger? Like Potion Ivy stuff, if that's ever good. Losing the bows sucks on Ranger. Pyro doesn't care at all. You don't get to buy Flames. You don't get to buy Chili Peppers, but you can also play the Dragon Nest Burst comp, and that seems fine. You can also just take the Stone Charm as a 5 gold econ item for a couple turns. Then when rares start showing up more commonly on like turn 5, turn 6, you can just sell it. More than pays for itself in those 5 turns, while also giving you the tempo. Same idea with Zerker. By the time you're able to buy axes, you can sell out of it. If you even care about going axe still. I don't know if axe got nerfed again. But you can just pick that up, do your steel goob stuff, sell it after you get the steel goob, and then look for your axes. Hey, Darklopus, thanks for the raid. Come here, buddy. We're just probably going over the patch notes before calling it a stream. Saw this just went live. Appear every round with an increased chance of 25% on round 1. You can obtain leaf badges or ranger, etc. Okay. We did see a game in the beta where there was a ranger with leaf badge, but that might have just been a weird bug. Maybe they got enough presents or something. Balancing. Base unique chance increased to 3%. Uniques can only appear from round 4 onwards. What was it before? Was it 2%? Balance relevant fix. Shields did not remove stamina when the opponent had less than the amount that should be removed. Missing chances to remove stamina. Reduce block chance to 30% to compensate for this. Yeah, this is probably a sad bug fix for Hammer Dagger. I didn't even realize this was bugged, but yeah. Gonna be rough. Like, at least before, when your daggers attacked when you had less than 0.7 into a Shield of Valor, you didn't lose your stam. But maybe the percent chance reduction makes up for it. Shields are more effective. I don't know if they're more effective on average. They're probably a little bit worse on average. But specifically into the builds that have a lot of 0 stam weapons that still want to have a stam weapon attack, like specifically Hammer Dagger, this is probably a buff to shields against them. Yeah, being a worse trigger is significant, for sure. Burning Torch. Damage from 2 to 4 to 2 to 3. Heat required for bonus scaling 8 to 12. Didn't they just produce this? Okay, back up. That's probably rough for Pyro. I like the Burning Torch starts on Pyro a lot, but they were probably too good. A little too reliable to get out of the early game. I don't know. I think part of why you needed to go Burning Torch, though, was just shields were so good. If shields are blocking less, that does indirectly make the Whetstone starts better. I don't know. There were a lot of spots where even when you didn't have a shield on your Pyro board, your single Burning Torch board was beating the sword start from Pyro. Didn't happen a lot, but it happened often enough that makes a lot of sense that you would nerf this again. Excalibur, cooldown down by 0.1. Sure. Okay. Maybe we will be getting terrorized by cheese chili egg scowls. Uh-oh. Steel Goober loses a little bit of block. Does this hit a breakpoint with Shield of Valor, too? Just, like, give you one less block on your Shield of Valor as well? Seeing a 15 DPS weapon on round 5 that requires just a common coal was silly. I guess. I don't know, at the same time, it was nice having that easy option to be able to compete with the sillier early game starts. Because, like, if this isn't good enough, are we just back to rolling for Whetstones on Pyro? That's no fun. Practically large greatsword. Buffed stamina usage from 3 to 2.5. Buffed cooldown 3 second to 2.5 second. That's a nice change, I guess. All the godlies are getting a little bit better. I feel like the biggest issue with the godlies is there's just not enough reason to switch out of your mid-game weapons into the late-game weapons. Like, a lot of the time you've built a lot of your comp around your mid-game weapon. So not only would you be selling your mid-game weapon in order to play this other stamina weapon that you're finding later, but you're also not using the value that you were generating for your mid-game weapon, making that one better in a lot of cases. Like, Reaper sort of gets away with it with the Darksaber builds sometimes, but, like, even those are really clunky, and the Darksaber is kind of worth it. I feel like the godly weapons have to be so good to ever justify swapping into them. Or the mid-game weapons have to be way worse. But these are, like, directly competing with things like Double Axe and Bow and Arrow. Shield of Valor effect went from 4.8 to 4.2. I think it. I thought it rounded to the nearest. So, but I could be wrong. Big rapier buff. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I'm sure people will experiment with it. It being tied with like the fastest base or item base in the game is significant too. Works better as a trigger. I don't know. Just godly weapons have all those same issues. Fanfare, cooldown from 4.5 to 4. It's not just a weird item. I'm sure you'll pick it up on sale sometimes. But more techie than something you're building in towards. Gets you what? Empower, mana, and remove stam. So you ideally want to be a comp that cares about mana and empower at the same time. There's not very many of those. But it's 4 gold. Maybe you'll pick it up on sale. It's not like Flute, where it can often be a core way that you're triggering Lamp by getting you mid-fight armor. Health Potion. Heal 11 to heal 12. Strong Health Potion. Heal 18 to 20. Empiric Potion. Lifesteal 10 to 12. There is something cool about potions that deal direct damage. You can do some potion bomb stuff with it. 12 is probably still just not enough, right? 1 vampiric potion, you can trigger it 3 times, steal 36 life. Power wants you to have multiple weapons. Multiple weapons is illegal. Yeah, sorta. Platinum customer card, more unique chance. Cool, I guess. If you don't get one of the badges on turn 1, you can make platinum customer card and try to find one more, I guess. I don't know. Heart container, more health. Heart of Darkness, more health. This is cool for the banner builds. You're still probably not paying full price for heart containers. But banner makes a lot of random regen. And just being able to turn it into a big health bonus, a little bit of empower, and more healing on your sun armors is kind of cool. 15% feels like it's close to where you can fish for a specific unique. Can you? I mean, there's even more uniques in the pool now. There's 5 more uniques in the pool for every class. Since you can't get your own class's emblem. And it's still just the first shop of the turn, right? You can't roll. Yeah. It's still the same rules as the other uniques. Buffs in general became a lot weaker in the beta. So many ways to remove buffs now. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how absurd Chain Whip looked as an item coming from the beta. And then seeing how the meta's developed to where most scaling comps aren't that worried about their buffs. Or they're generating so many of the buffs that removing a few doesn't really matter. Not like before, where lotusing someone for 20 bricked their whole comp. More block on Protective Purse. Does this hit any breakpoints? How much block do you need for potions? 45? Ugh, never mind. You're only doing that with an armor. Pineapple, more healing. Huh. Another pineapple buff. Huh. They buffed Thorn Whip! I was so frustrated by how bad Thorn Whip was last week. Every time that I did any of the comps that wanted one of the Thorn Whip combines, it just felt like it was throwing so hard to put Thorn Whip on your board, even when you had spike generators. Like, I would be playing for Flame Whip stuff with, like, pineapples and tusk piercers, and you still just lost every fight that you put a Thorn Whip on your board. It felt so bad. Bloodthorn's a little easier to sustain now. Buffed the cooldown a bit too. That's cool. Still, I don't know. Still feels like it's probably too weak, but good step forward. Oh, +1 damage to Hunger Blade is nice. Might make the mid-game Hunger Blade a lot more viable. Which in turn does make the Bloodthorn a more interesting line, if it's playable. I'll probably try that a bit tomorrow. I'm guessing that it's still too weak on Reaper, but maybe the crit classes can use it. Pandemonium damage +2. Didn't the last patch randomly Pandemonium damage -3? I'm very confused. Okay. Hero Longsword. Damage +1. Because they added another star. Oh, was that the same patch? Okay, so they dropped the damage and then decided they didn't need to drop the damage, so it's getting the damage back. Okay. Fair enough. Still funny to see that back-to-back in weak patch notes, but that's fair. Falcon Blade +1, Lightsaber +1, Magic Staff +1. Okay. The most relevant one there, probably Magic Staff. It also just impacts all the combines too. It makes having Magic Staff with no mana a little bit better on like turn 5, turn 6 if you get an early mana orb. The upgrade's more worth taking. But I imagine you're not building around lightsabers. Falcon Blade's probably still too hard to make for the payoff. Maybe HLS. You do get a lot of stones out of Stone Badge. It might be Magical Christmas Land, though. Pyro. Burning Sword. Damage -1. Draconic Orb. Cooldown. Do 3.5. Okay. Finally. A reasonable number on Draconic Orb. Sun Armor. Man. Sun Armor has gotten like 50% worse since release. This item was absurd. Obsidian Dragon, heat required goes up, sure. Dark Lantern got buffed again, but on the debuffs instead of the damage. Okay. This is the harder part of it to take advantage of. Dark items tend to not be something that you have access to early. Maybe the Stone Badge is the secret to the 4 Crossed Sword Steel Goob. Gives you a lot of econ. I don't know. Molten Dagger, damage +2. That's an innocuous looking note, but isn't that... This hit's kind of hard. It's probably fine. Molten Dagger was really bad, but... Huh. That's a lot of extra damage. Molten Spear got buffed. Wait, what's the bonus damage on Molten Spear? Molten Spear was already terrifying to run into early. That thing hits hard. It doesn't build into anything. Okay, so when it misses, it does the extra damage. There was a good answer when everyone was blinding. Yeah. Like, I made it a couple times last week, and it was, like, nuts until subclassing, and then it fell off. Ugh. I don't know. Feels like it's doubling down in the situation where it's already strong, but still falls off just as hard. Holy... Oh. Cooldown up. I got real excited for a second. This is still a big buff, right? Because it makes the stamina a lot easier to sustain. It's a 1.7. Before it was even stamina and cooldown. Yeah, now it's 0.9. What class did I find the stone badge good on? I had a good run on Zerker and Reaper. I only got to play it twice. But it was just nuts every time, both times I had it. Less DPS, more heat. Yeah. And you're playing it for the heat. Like, when Flame Whip is good, it's in... Either you're playing it with, like, Lamp to get damage after you've gained a bunch of heat, or you're playing it in a fatigue comp and not caring about the damage. Still give get touch. Yeah, it lost a little bit of block. Staff of Fire. Damage +2. Brass Knuckles. Cooldown 2.0 to 2.1. Chain Whip gets buffed again. It's a big buff. I don't know. I guess the buff comps are so good that the buff comps are generating so many buffs that the Chain Whip doesn't even really counter them. Like, when we were playing Chain Whip, we were still losing to Luck Rangers sometimes. And obviously you just can't remove enough buffs from Pyro for it to really matter. No, Chain Whip's really bad, but I'm worried about a world where most of the best comps involve buffs and Chain Whip's just naturally good. Like, Chain Whip, the text on Chain Whip is crazy. If there are comps that can't handle getting a bunch of buffs removed, like most of the comps that used buffs in the beta, this item is crazy. It just... The comps that it beats up on don't really exist. Yeah, like, no one's playing Bloodthorn. The Rangers are trying to insta-lamp. Pyros are generating so much heat that they don't really mind that you're removing a few. Yep, it always healed in Battle Rage. You anticipate Chain Whip will be good this patch? Maybe it's gotten buffed enough times. I don't know. Like, do we want to live in a world where Chain Whip is just naturally good? That feels like an awful world to live in. Like, what about the people that actually want to play buffs in their build? Like, it existing as a fringe tech option seems like the place that it wants to be, even if fringe tech options are really weird when there's 4 classes and you're matched equally against all of them. Well, I mean, at least Banner is doing something proactive. You're giving up your stamina weapon for Chain Whip. Where Banner, you're taking a subclass that generates a bunch of regen. Gives you your healing for Fatigue Pyro. Chain Whip gonna be oppressive like old Ripsaw. Yeah, it's like a super Ripsaw blade. It's a Ripsaw that scales itself. There's just no comp that really cares about Ripsaw right now. Like, the other argument is that tech items are in a really weird spot when you play against every class equally, no matter how strong they are. Like, theoretically, Pyro could be the best class by a mile, and it is completely unbeatable if you don't tech against it, but it still might not be correct to tech against it because you only fight it in a quarter of your games, and you're better off just beating all of the other classes and accepting your losses to Pyro. I'm just throwing Pyro as an example. Could have also been Berserker. Or Ranger. Or Reaper to cover all the bases. However unlikely. Ripsaw should be changed into a different weapon at this point. Yeah. Like, the best use for tech items, I feel like, is as a hedge in other builds. But the ones that use your stamina, you can't really play as a hedge, because you're using your stamina to do your core damage most of the time. Like, you're building around your stamina weapons, usually. They don't really make sense as techs. Any classes that busted when people... No, because you're guaranteed to fight roughly a quarter of each class. They changed that going into live. It used to be, yeah, you could fight 15 rangers in 18 rounds. But that shouldn't happen anymore. It tries to match you into other classes equally. Deerwood Guardian. Battle Rage bonus duration. Ooh. Interesting. Wolf Emblem and Power requirement. Playbase collectively stops playing all the classes but one. There's always going to be some people playing the other classes. There's going to be fewer of them, but that doesn't matter. Like, there can be 20 ranger boards in the queue and 200 pyro builds. But if the game wants to queue against a ranger, it'll queue against one of the rangers. We're going to be ending stream after the review. How many lives you have? It's a 25% chance. Yep. Well, it tries to give you even matchups against all the different classes. So, like, if you fought 2 pyros, you're less likely to fight a pyro for a 3rd round in a row. Wolf Emblem Empowerment Requirement. 5 to 3. I forgot this did something when you had Empower. What is this? 30% chance to resist debuffs. Huh. That's cool. Elephant Rune, Badger Rune, Hawk Rune get cheaper. Cool. I feel like the issue with this is just the reliability of the subclass. Like, you're usually going into the subclass and there's one rune that you want to find, and you are not guaranteed to find the rune you're looking for. Like, if you're playing daggers, you want to find elephant runes. If you're playing, like, Excalibur, you want to find the badger runes. If you're just trying to tech against blind, you want to find the hawk runes. Them being cheaper is nice, just for, like, playing them for raw value, but just feels bad picking it and then not seeing an elephant rune until, well, you end up dying. Dragon Skin Boots. Block 8 to 12, cold resistance from 25 to 20. Okay, less of a blowout versus the cold pyro. I guess that's fine, especially after they tuned down the cold pyro. It was nice to have the option to make these back when everyone was playing the cold build, but probably not as necessary now. Still a valid option, too. Not like losing the 5% makes them unplayable. Also makes the upgrade a little more relevant in other matchups as well. The block's mostly more relevant than the cold resistance. Busted Blade, more bonus damage per empower. Cool. Forging Hammer costs 6 to 3. If you sell Forging Hammer or have a Wolf Badge or Rainbow Badge, you can now find it again in the shop. Huh. Yeah. So on one hand, you can sell the Forging Hammer early. That's probably going to be a common start, right? You just get rid of your Forging Hammer for 2 extra gold on turn 1, and then you can pick it up again later. It just costs you 1 gold, but you get the 2 on something that matters instead of a Forging Hammer. Usually don't need the Forging Hammer until, like, turn 5 or 6, when you're making your first armor. It didn't seem that hard to find, either. Ranger, Big Bull, double trigger. This is like... Okay, so less trigger chance, more food speed bonus. So trying to move the power of Big Bull away from being a crazy goop trigger and into scaling food on Ranger. Eh. You'd even buy a pig. Plus minus 0. Yeah, true. Though I feel like Zerker wants the early game help rather than the early game econ. I don't know, I always feel so weak on the first few turns as Zerker. Leaf heals more. Cool. I didn't like people surrounding it with lucky pigs rather than food. Yeah, it's like... It's so much of the power of it, though. Like, at some point... You just don't take Big Bolt anymore, and just go back to Arrow. Too bad they need to do it even more now. I don't know. Like, they're eventually not even going to be a good enough Goob trigger for you to want to spend all the gold going Big Bowl plus Squirrel. Yeah, I had a little bit of success with the Solo Broom stuff. The auto lose to Reaper is rough. And it feels like it falls off by, like, turn 4. And you don't always have your rare weapon yet. It's also tough to make the Hero Sword start if you're playing the Broom. And a lot of Zerker builds want to have that Steel Goob. Turn 4, you're rolling for Whip or Hungry Blade. Yeah, it's very easy to miss. It's very easy to miss, like, a rare on turn 4. How are you reliably finding Hungry Blade or Whip on turn 4? Those are epics. Unreliably, but that's the best option. Yeah, I don't know. The Broomstart felt like it griefed turn 4 through 6 in order to be better turn 1, 2, and 3. Which is maybe fine, but losing the Steel Goob option sucks. Piercing Arrow, more block removal. Yeah, that's... Man, I don't want to have to position Piercing Arrows again. This is a much more relevant buff than the Leaf Heal. Especially with Steel Goob as popular as it is. Fortuna's Hope. Luck chance from 60 to 70. Okay. Accuracy 85 to 100. That's probably worth making. It's what, like 4 seconds now to get your 2 luck back? It still slows down your Giga Clover Insta-Lamp, but if you're not doing that, it's just another solid way to scale luck throughout the fight. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of cool. Build on a Shade. Inflict chance 70 to 60. Poison 1 to 2. I'm still not buying a potion for this. I'm also still not buying a potion for this. Tusk Piercer, start of battle spikes 2 to 3. So that's the big spike bow. I could see big bow, small bow spikes as a way to make it the subclass if you don't want to Steel Goob. It's just tough because the bow shows up so late. But when you randomly get like a turn 3 or 4 bow, I could see going Tusk Piercer. Don't necessarily have to play it forever. The little bow sustains the Tusk Piercer pretty easily. Also 6 insta poison for Ivy. That's true. That's true. The only issue is that I'd rather have 2 little bows for Ivy. I guess you don't need that much stam. Installant becomes easier. That's true. That's true. Play Tusk Piercer just for 2 extra tusks. Make sure it's not pointing at a weapon. No, this thing hits hard. You want this pointing at a weapon. If you haven't played Tusk Piercer, you'll be surprised at the amount of, like, 6-second fights you get. Carrot Goob, more Empower duration. Cool. Whoa! They murdered it! What the fuck? $2.2 to 2.6? Good lord. Recon plus 2? What a buff to Pyro. You're not even wrong. You're not even wrong. Oh my, I'm gonna get so tilted fighting pyros in survival that have Reaper Charm. Misfortune. This thing gets even faster? Is this the fastest non-stamina item in the game now? What a weird niche. I don't know, still tough to build. It's so weird buffing things like this. Like, Misfortune was already a powerful item at 2.0 cooldown. There's just not a way to build around it. The tools for Reaper just don't really exist at low enough cost to get something together with it. But, like, at some point, you're gonna buy it with just... Here we go. Oh, yeah. Deerwood Guardian is faster. Though Deerwood has the constraint of needing to be in Battle Rage. Little different. But true. Cauldron heals for 12. Gains 4 mana or 3 heat. Has the magic type. Okay. 2/1/1 buff. Yeah. I mean, the best uses for Cauldron that I have seen have not involved any potions. So I guess if they keep buffing this, maybe it'll eventually be something that can win. I think my best Cauldron run involved just using it as a goop trigger. What a sad subclass. The Fool cost from 5 to 4. Jimbo cost from 6 to 5. Yep. Unhealing heals a bit more. I don't know what this buff is doing in the Reaper section. This needs to go over to Pyro. Reworked Lifter. No longer lifesteals through poison. Increases weapon lifesteal based on vamp items. I don't think I saw this pop off at all. Is there a way to position it so that Bloodthorn is both a giver and a receiver? I don't think there is, right? Oh wait, yeah, you can put it along the side. Okay. Yeah, you could have like Bloodthorn here and a Vamp Gloves here to get 2 stars. You could also Bloodthorn here, cover all of these, gloves here, gloves here. I don't know. Basically just a buff. Losing the trigger is annoying, but at the same time, it didn't make sense that the item was a trigger, so I'm not gonna complain. Bloodthorn to get Vamp Gem, 92 to get Vamp items. Yeah. It was an unreliable trigger anyway. Yeah, but it was still nice that it was a trigger sometimes. It was a fast trigger when it worked, too. Mrs. Struggles now triggers 10% faster for each dark item. Cooldown 3 to 3. Oh. Oh, right. Wait, this was also in the demo notes, or the beta notes. I don't even know if this is a buff. You need so many dark items. So it's the second dark item makes it better. You'll always have struggles if you take this. So you always have at least the 1 dark item. And then you need a giraffe or a cap. That's 6 stars, right? In a very weird configuration. Yeah. Corrupted armor. Maybe. Yeah, Crystal or Giraffe would be the main ones. Any of the items that Crystal makes. Yeah. I don't know. Could be cool if there's more dark items eventually. I don't know if dark items are forever going to be expensive later game stuff. Yep. Yep. It is dark. It used to not be, I think, but they added the tag a while ago. I think before early access. Strong Demonic now triggers when you fall below 25%. Cool. Improvements to item trigger order. Items should not trigger in buy order. Identical trigger conditions either have a static priority or are randomized. This is so sad for potions. I mentioned this when I saw the note in the beta branch notes. But before it was based on buy order. So if you knew which of your heroic potions was triggering first, you would put that one at the bottom so that you would trigger 2 heroics the first time you ran out of stamina. Now it's just going to be random and sometimes trigger your top heroic. I don't know. What was the problem with having it either be buy order or static priority? Like, I'd often be too lazy to optimize my potions, but it was still nice to have the option to do it. Just a weird thing to force randomness here. Shield Lamp now shows the used buffs as used in the log. Oh, I think probably part of the reason why it's randomized is because it'll be randomized when you get the board from the opponent. Because, like, it's not tracking your buy order when it sends the boards over to you. Which is why you would often see Dark Lanterns triggering in the wrong order from opposing boards. Because your client doesn't know their buy order. So it just makes it a little less janky. I wonder if silly stuff like resetting your client also changed this at all. I never tried. Lamp now shows the buffs, the used buffs as used in the log. Oh, cool. Game now supports rich presence, so you can see what your Steam friends are doing. Wowie. Well, there are both more and less balance changes than I was expecting. More in that there's a lot of stuff. I was really hoping they would do a little bit more to Steel Goob and Excalibur. Especially Excalibur with the new badges. That's going to be really miserable. Randomly running into a Pyro Zerker. When they did nerf double axe again, yeah. Yeah. Probably wasn't necessary. Did I try Misfortune Ranger? I never got around to it now. I think I only got the... I got Ranger twice and I wanted to try Darksaber both times. But it could be cool. So I guess we're going to see the badges way less than we did in the beta. Probably not going to be conceding every round that we don't see a badge. Did your items make luck for that? Oh, yeah, it's the other way around. You play Reaper and get the Ranger badge, and the Ranger badge itself makes luck. Yeah, that might enable the Heat Reaper stuff. Okay, well,